So drop points for Manchester City as it finishes at 2-2. Let's take a look at what that means then. All important, top of the table, Arsenal find themselves now 7 clear. City do have a game in hand, but obviously they win that, the deficit would still be 4. For more on this, Don Hutchinson joins us. Stevie, you look at this overall, and this was a kind of a round of matches you thought, well, maybe Arsenal can drop points at Brighton. Yeah. City should be a layup against Forest. Yeah. Doesn't play out that way. Arsenal fans absolutely delighted. Yeah, and they should be partly because of the way they actually got this victory. You know, this was backs to the wall. This was a defensive. You know, we've been talking recently about how the Arsenal back line of the start of the season had disappeared. Yep. Well, it reappeared on the very night they needed it most, away at Brighton, because Brighton put them under severe pressure after Saka gets his goal. And really, Raya had a couple of good saves, but from a defensive point of view, they won their headers, the challenges were spot on, they got blocks in when it was needed. Anything that they needed to do defensively, they got it absolutely spot on. And that's why they won 1-0. They got the goal and then they defended for the rest of the game. And right now, the only thing that matters is getting the 3 points, regardless of how good, how bad or how indifferent you play. Absolutely, Don.
Yeah, I think it was one of them performances tonight where there's no pitches on the scorecard. They didn't play well. I thought Brighton were the far better side. I mean, Stevie's doing his best to try and get a Premier League referee's job if he doesn't think that was a penalty, because it was an absolute stone waller. I mean, Stevie, come on, man. I mean, Martinelli's just tracked Weaver in the box and pulled his arm and pulled him over.
If we're going to start giving, if we're going to give a penalty for that sort of tussle in the box, we're going to see 10 penalties a game. So it's up to you, Don. You want 10 penalties a game?
No, that's a penalty. That's a stonewall penalty.
It's not.
If you're Weaver and you're running into the box, you can't get hauled over. Martinelli's not even looking at the ball.
Weaver's holding on to him to start with. It starts out the box, the Weaver's holding him. So, I mean, it's 6.5 a dozen. Look,
I disagree.
Let me put it this way. Had it been given, right, I wouldn't really have complained, because I would understand why the referee would give that. But the fact that it's not given, I'm okay with that as well. Because, as I said, there's 10 of them in a game now, every single game.
Shaka, you get the deciding vote?
If there's 10 of them in a game, then there should be 10 penalties in a game.
Right.
Weaver's trying to run around Martinelli. Martinelli's not even looking at the ball. I'm not seeing Weaver trying to hold on to Martinelli. I'm seeing a player trying to run around his opponent, and his opponent kind of not even looking at the ball, just looking at the man and holding on. It starts well outside the box, continues well inside. That's a penalty in my opinion. Keeping in mind, and listen, this has got nothing.
There's nothing from Weaver.
Huh?
You don't think there's anything from
He's looking at the ball, trying to run into space.
There's nothing Weaver's doing.
So let me ask this. Why is he holding Martinelli? Why would he hold Martinelli in that position?
Well, because that's what they do. They all do.
No, the ball is.
They're all holding each other.
Hold on.
They're all pulling each other.
Let me just make this point. The ball is wide left. He is on the far post, trying to run around Martinelli to find space. He gains absolutely nothing by holding on to Martinelli. So I don't see it. I just don't, because he gains nothing. He's trying to create separation. He's trying to get away from Martinelli. Holding on to Martinelli is the most boneheaded thing anybody could do in that.
So why does a striker hold on to a defender at an attacking corner? Because it makes no sense if you're an attacker, because if you're holding on, the referee's going to give a foul against you. So it's the same logic.
Why does this? I'm not following.
I want to talk about City. What went wrong with them today, Stevie?
To be honest with you, I don't think what they did was particularly wrong. I think Forest had a different attitude in the second half. The 2 goals that we saw them losing today, Manchester City, are the types of goals that they've lost all season. So it's not a surprise that they've lost the goals the way they have. I think it was Forest's attitude that changed in the second half. City get the 2 goals at home. If you're going for the title and you score twice at home, you can't let 2 in.
Right.
You can't. So I don't think it's a shock, particularly the way the goals came around, because Manchester City, as we've said, they have individuals who can win them games and score goals, but we know defensively they can be got at and they're not reliable. And that's again just a similar outcome and a similar defensive performance from City that we've seen all season.
This, of course, wouldn't have happened 2 or 3 years ago, Dom. Traditionally, this is the time of year where City would go on that run. Is it personnel? Is that what's changed? Is that why this isn't a massive surprise today?
It's still a massive surprise that Forest took a couple of points off them, yeah, especially when City were winning the game. And the big turning point in the game was when Haaland's pen got turned down by the referee, because if City score that, it's 3-1, it's game over. But I do agree with Stevie when you think City are not the finished article at the back. It's definitely in transition. They've got, in Nunez at right back, they've got a midfielder playing it out of position. When O'Reilly plays at left back, he's a midfield player playing out of position, playing at left back. So the signings that should have been made, when you think Kyle Walker's moved on, you would have thought City and Pep would have identified a proper orthodox right back. I get why they're playing midfielders there, because his sort of thinking is, well, if we've got technical players at full-back, it's almost like having midfield players in that position. But defensively, it's risk and reward. When it works for them, the full-backs can get up the pitch like O'Reilly did the other day and score a couple of goals, and they can look good. Defensively, they're not proper defenders, so you can get at them. It's a side in Forest that was scrapping for their lives. They'll feel as though they deserve the point, and maybe they've got a point. But I still go back to the penalty claim at 2-1. City score that 3-1, that would have been game over.
This is what Bernardo Silva had to say on that decision. All 50-50s have gone against us this season. It's the reality. For me, it was a penalty. Some might have a different opinion. What can Erling do? As I said, we're used to it. We know how it works.
Look, the best angle is from behind, and you see Haaland's right foot goes towards the goalkeeper. He's the one that makes the contact. Look, he kicks it, he stands on him. His foot 100% goes towards the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's not going towards him, and that's why I don't think it is a penalty at all.
I'm with Stevie, and I think there is movement from Haaland towards the goalkeeper, but I think the goalkeeper takes him out anyway. And that, in my mind, kind of takes prominence in whether it's a foul or not. But that being said, it's not given, and the one thing I hate from hearing from teams such as Manchester City, given their successes, don't make this about something that's not. You didn't get a call. Okay, how many times over the last 7 seasons you got some of those
Never.
calls?
Bernardo Silva says the 50-50s all go against him.
Okay, well.
That's it.
Clearly, Bernardo Silva, you and I...
against Liverpool, forget that.
Hold on.
Forget that.
Doesn't count.
That's all right, that doesn't count.
So that for me, just... You got the wrong end of a bad decision. It happens to every single club. I feel that. I find that disingenuous.
Haaland fishing for it, Don?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think he's fishing because he knows the goalkeeper's going to clatter him. But I think Saka's right, and I think you can't moan over them. I mean, you think of, and you can rack your brains, I've just come off comms, so I'm absolutely shattered. But when you think of the decision they got when Rodri...
What do you mean?
When Rodri
Rodri
handballed one at Everton at Goodison Park, which was the biggest stonewall penalty I've ever seen in my lifetime, and City got away with it. That springs to mind. So I think if you're Bernardo Silva, it's worth a little dig, because you come off the pitch and you feel as though you've put so much into the game and you're scrapping for your lives and you're trying to win a title, and it's worth a little dig at the officials. But when all said and done, they'll wake up tomorrow morning thinking, right, we shouldn't have shipped 2 goals, and that's what City are. So it's work to be done.
We knew it was a big night coming into tonight. Top 2 both playing at the same time, both with games that you would have expected them to win. But I said at the start, I think they will both win, but none of them are gimmies. And, Forest have got so much to play for themselves. They're fighting for their lives, especially with West Ham doing so well and teams around them picking up points. They had to try to get something today. And as I said, Forest have got a good squad. That squad can't be taken lightly. So it was a big night, could be a pivotal night in the title race, but there are still plenty of games to go. Manchester City simply can't slip up again, though. They can't go further away. They've got to put the pressure on Arsenal from now on in.
What's it like when you come off the pitch and you've done your job, and then someone says to you, "Oh, they've drawn or they've lost"? I mean, how?
It's a massive bonus. It really is a massive bonus. You're walking off. All you're interested in is your result, but when you hear your local rivals and the team who's going to be going all the way with you have dropped points, it's a massive, massive boost. It really is for the players. So they'll be absolutely delighted with the result themselves, but they'll also be delighted with what happened at the Etihad. And obviously, as Michael says, there's lots and lots of football still to be played, but you want them the little bonuses along the way. And now it is in Arsenal's hands, so it's all down. And I'm sure the fans enjoy their journey on the way home, the Arsenal fans. As you can see, they're celebrating the win, but they're also celebrating the 2 points drop for Man City.
I think if you had asked Arsenal before the night, if they had just sustained and kept their difference, they would have been happy. On paper, I think that they probably had the harder game. They're playing against someone higher in the league. They're away from home. Manchester City obviously playing at home against a team fourth from bottom. So I think if you had said to Arsenal, you're both going to draw or you're both going to win, they would have snapped your hand off. To gain 2 points on a night like tonight, double bonus for them.
Yeah, and reminder what is left for these two teams. It isn't in City's hands now, and City have just played, actually. Forest, of course, battling for their lives. Their next Premier League game is away at West Ham. Before that, they got the FA Cup at Newcastle and an away trip to Real Madrid as well. Mansfield and Leverkusen for Arsenal before they play Everton. And then, of course, that big game at Wembley between the two, and then the meeting at the Etihad in match week 30.
Some huge games there, Steve, but if you just take the Premier League games in isolation, you've got Manchester City going away at West Ham and Arsenal playing at home to Everton. And then you've got Manchester City going away to Chelsea while Arsenal are at home to Bournemouth. And then they play each other, and it's at, obviously,
the Etihad.
At the Etihad. But those two games, I would almost say that Arsenal have got the easier two games. West Ham away and Chelsea away for Manchester City. They're two difficult games. So, again, from City's point of view, they need to just keep tabs now. They need to keep matching them and then hope that when they play each other, that they win.
You're making Ray very excited with that analysis there.
No, I certainly believe that Arsenal got the better running. Last year, they probably had the harder running, but this year, certainly there's games there, especially home games. You know, the crowd will be really up for it now because they know they've got that gap. And as Michael says, West Ham are fighting for their lives. Chelsea, we saw their result tonight, a really good performance. So as an easy game at Stamford Bridge. So Arsenal certainly in pole position, as they say.
OK, you wouldn't expect him to be any more committal than that, but a huge 3 points. And you've played a lot of those games on the way to your titles where you're not at your best, but you keep a clean sheet and it's just all about the result.
Absolutely. They'll be going back on the coach later, really pleased with themselves because they hanged in there. I mean, Brighton were very good. They created lots and lots of chances, but the defence again come out on tops. And as I said before, when you pick that trophy up at the end of the season, you don't analyse every game and say we was poor against Brighton away. You just take the moment when you pick it up. So they'll be delighted, and Mikel will be absolutely delighted with the Man City result as well. Deep down, he didn't really show it in the interview, but he will be really excited about what happened at the Etihad by Man City dropping 2 points as well.
Yeah, landmark night for Bukayo Saka. I mean, as he said, for someone so young to get to 300 games. I think quote that Fabian Hertzler has said after the game, that we were the only team trying to play football, and I will never have my team to try and win a game in that manner.
Well, he's capable of saying things like that, isn't he?
He's not going for a title, though,
He's not, no. He might change his mind if he's going for a title, and any old winner will do. Listen, Arsenal have played well for the vast majority of the season. And it's the oldest saying in the book, really. The oldest saying in the football book is, you know, to win the league, sometimes you've got to win playing ugly. Arsenal have done that as well this season. Fair play to them. You know, they find a way of winning, and that starts, in Arsenal's case, with having a real strong base, very good goalkeeper, very organised defence, solid midfield. They aren't what Liverpool have been, aren't what Manchester City have been over the last decade or so, basically blitzing teams through goals, conceding maybe 2 or 3 themselves, but scoring 4 or 5 themselves. So they're not that style of the play. They're very organised, they're well drilled, and as Ray said, as soon as they score one, you rarely see them not picking up the points. Of course, they had a bit of a blip against Wolves not so long ago, 2-0 up and drawing. But apart from that, when they score, it's, you know, you can just see them shutting out games, closing out games, and they hardly created a thing tonight. But Brighton didn't really look like scoring either. They had a lot of pressure, but Arsenal defended their box really well.
Yeah, just to back you up, 10 wins this season by a 1-goal margin. They didn't have many opportunities, but perhaps not surprisingly, Fabian Hertz has said it was a definite penalty at the end of the first half. Vifa fouled by Martinelli, he said. Did they get a little bit fortunate here?
Yes, I think they did. Look, you can see Martinelli there. He's not even looking at the ball, and he goes down into the box. And I was pretty surprised that it didn't go to VAR. I'm really surprised that, you know, maybe, and that's what the manager was having a little word with the fourth official. As you see there, there's definitely contact. Whether they've both got each other's arms is another matter, but really they got fortunate because another time that would have been a penalty. And a lot of penalties we've seen for that sort of incident. So I think Arsenal got away with one there.
We've got a real problem, I feel, in the game at the moment with pulling, with blocking, shirt pulling, you know, things like that. I think when it's so obvious, you know, VAR are not doing themselves any favours by not sending the referee to the monitor there with that one. There's enough 50-50s, there's enough blocking of goalkeepers on corners that it's very hard to... But when there's one that obvious, then I think they are leaving themselves to, you know, out there to be hung, drawn and quartered for not having a look at that one. That looked like a stonewaller to me.